At the beginning of this year, Pakistan packed their bags, flew to South Africa to play 3 ODIs and 3 T20 internationals. And personally, I love that. It marks a great start to the year. More international cricket for the players and for the viewers. Now, South Africa have swept the ODI series 3-0, but that stat probably doesn't do justice to the actual game and how close it went on all three occasions. But we shift our focus to the T20s now. And over here at Women's Cricket Zone, more matches means we get to bring our experts back on, pick their brains about everything going on and off the field. So everyone tuning in, welcome back to the Outside View Live by Women's Cricket Zone. And not just for everyone tuning in, but to our experts as well, Claire and Ananya. It's great to have you guys back. Claire, glad to have you back. Obviously, you're no stranger to these segments. You've had a bit of a breather, but we're going into the T20s now. The first match is just, half an hour away. Your first thoughts, are you excited?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait. T20 cricket's always really, really exciting. And I think, obviously, after the ODIs, a 3-0 win to South Africa in the series, definitely in favor of South Africa at the moment. However, I always say with T20 cricket, anything can happen. And that's why we love it so much, because you just never know. Pakistan would start as the underdogs here, but, some good batting or some good bowling or, all you need is Diana Baig in the field and some exciting things could happen. And that's why you just don't quite ever know what's going to happen with T20 cricket.
Yeah, that's the beauty. The underdogs are never really out of it. And a regular on the Outside View Live now. I want to sort of put a question right off the bat. Pakistan come off 3 losses back to back. Do you think they'll just have their blinders on and just say, look ahead, that's the approach now? Or do they analyze their losses in a different format, in different sort of situations to
I think
sort of go ahead?
There are a lot of things that they will take away from that series, improvements that they have to make going into this, whether that's their batting that we've analyzed and probably overanalyzed, and that their approach in the field, their body language, little things like that they will have to improve on in the T20Is. But I don't think they will worry too much about the losses in that format, because this is, like Claire said, a completely different format. An over can change it, like a run out can change the momentum. So I think hopefully they don't overanalyze like we did on this show, but I think there will be improvements that they have to make, and it will be interesting with coming into this series. In fact, the first game with their captain not playing, how that's gonna shake them up is gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah, we've had news that Javeria Khan has been ruled out for this game with a dislocated. Anything happens in ODIs, we see phases. We can say that South Africa had the first 10 overs, but then Pakistan claw back, and the other way around. But with T20s, as you mentioned, a run out or 2 wickets back to back. So in T20 unit, do you think is probably the weakest thing where Pakistan can just say, hey, if we get these 2 wickets, or on the other hand, if we just take on the opening bowler, then we're sort of up in the momentum here?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I think what Pakistan need to do is go out with a lot of energy and a lot of enthusiasm on the field. So whether they sort of bat first or bowl first, I think body language is going to be critically important. They need to kind of fake it till they make it. And I know it sounds silly, but just by having that sort of vibe, that atmosphere, that team togetherness on the field, it definitely can help and shift the pressure back onto South Africa, because I think South Africa are going to have just a natural form of confidence going into this T20. They obviously were disappointed with where they finished, losing in the semi-finals in the World Cup, but at the same time they had some fantastic performances, and as a unit they are showing that they can start to really compete against the top sides in this format. So Pakistan are going to have to be confident. They're going to have to try and, I almost want to say, rile up the South Africans a little bit, like get under their skins, to sort of like make them start sort of judging themselves, because that's how you kind of can break down sort of self-confidence, and then they can start sort of stumbling. And in T20, I'm not saying it's easy to do, but it's easier to do because you've got 20 overs. So as a coaching unit, you're just going to say to the girls, get stuck in, guys. Like, you've got nothing to lose. Go out hard and early on. A spectacular run out, a spectacular catch, the wicketkeeper getting a little bit loud, getting a little bit chirpy, simple things like that can really start, irritating the South Africans. And that's how I'd like to see Pakistan, just that confidence and just believing in themselves and trying to get under the skins of the South African batters and the bowlers.
Yeah, and we know Sidra Nawaz is definitely going to do that, and she's going to sort of rise up the energy of the entire team as well. But you're right. T20s, every slip up is magnified because it costs you that much more. So and on that note, every player that sort of adds different dimension and contributes to the team also adds that much more. So Ananya, do you think the sort of the absence of Dane in this format, is it that much more like magnified? And do you think that sort of South Africa have got that covered, or there is a bit of a gap there?
Well, there's always going to be a bit of a gap with someone like Dane. I think we discussed this before. Her personality and her leadership skills, I think, are always going to be missed. But I think South Africa have most of their bases covered. I think the way Marizanne Kaap is batting right now, I think she's in very, very good touch. She's hitting the ball as well as I've seen her, and I don't think they'll miss Dane too much in this format, especially against Pakistan. I mean, I feel like Pakistan don't have enough ammunition to kind of run through that South African lineup, and I think South Africa right now, the batting lineup looks very strong, and I feel like they have their bases covered. They have experience through that order. They have players who will be able to, I suppose, if there is a slip up, kind of pull things together for them, whether that's Kaap, Mignon, Dupree. We saw Trisha Chetty do it in the last ODI as well. So I think they have their bases covered. They probably may miss Dane in the field a little more, and her bowling. Everyone knows how effective she is as a bowler, but we saw Sunelise kind of find her mojo, and probably that's something that will help South Africa in this. I don't think they'll miss her too much though.
Yeah, your captain finding their mojo, I think that also is amplified because then she sort of resonates that to the entire team. But you mentioned Marizanne Kaap, so we've got that covered for this segment because now this episode is blessed and everyone can be happy that we've mentioned her. But we're getting news out from the middle that Pakistan has won the toss and they decided to bat first. Now, the last three ODIs, they chose to bowl first each time. Claire, your thoughts on this decision?
Well, exactly what I've just said. I think that's a start for them. The mere fact, we were almost begging them on the pre-show before the third ODI. If you win the toss, please bat first. Please bat first. Clearly, we weren't shouting loud enough, or I wasn't shouting loud enough from Cape Town for them to hear it in Durban. But this for me is exactly what I've just said. Confidence, body language. You've won the toss, and you can say, no, I'm going to go and bat. I'm sure that Sinead Liss is probably taking quite a lot of stick in the change room because now that's 4 in a row she's lost. I'm not quite sure what happened in India when she took over the captaincy and how many tosses she won or lost there. But jeepers, 4 in a row. Shame, she must be thinking she's done something wrong. But I think it's a really good sort of stamp of authority from Pakistan by saying, come on, we're going to bat first. We're going to get a score on the board. And then South Africa have got that added scoreboard pressure having to chase.
We constantly spoke about Sunelise and her finding her mojo with the ball. Now we just have to talk about it, that she has to win the toss. And hopefully by the third T20, she has won the toss. But now that Pakistan are going out to bat, Ananya, your thoughts on the South African opening, the opening bowling, they're going to obviously come out hard. They have to get into that Pakistan top order. You mentioned on the pre-show that the top order has a bit of change up coming up. We're going to find out when the lineups come out. But what do you see that battle playing out to be?
Well, I'm sure South Africa will go into that bowling innings with a lot of confidence. They have troubled that Pakistani top order, regardless of who the batters are. I think the only people they've kind of struggled to dismiss are Nidadar and Alia Riaz. But so I think they'll go in with a lot of confidence. What I'm interested to see is we were talking off air about this, is whether they open with Ismail and Kaap or whether they open with Ismail and Nonkululeko Mlaba. And, I think she opened in the T20 World Cup. She did an extremely good job. Of course, Kaap wasn't there, but I think, it's very different to come up against a spinner. I think yes, teams are used to it now in T20 cricket, but that change of pace, someone as fiery as Ismail, and then you come up against a left arm spinner who's kind of just tossing it up much slower. So I mean, and then you think of the one change bowler Cup, and then you have Kaka, who's the second highest wicket taker in the ODI. So I think it's a lot to come up against as a batting unit, and they're definitely going to put a lot of pressure on Pakistan, and it's going to be interesting to see who comes to open that innings without Javeria Khan, how that affects someone like Alia Riaz, who that added responsibility of captaining as well. So, where she bats herself, whether she's going to come up top or she still, lingers down that order at number 6. So it's a good move from Pakistan to bat first, very positive, like Claire said, but I think they're going to be under a lot of pressure against that South African bowling attack.
Yeah, it shows intent, and I think Claire, you were mentioning this off-air, Cap as the first change. I mean, the Pakistan players must be saying, what do we have to do to sort of just get into this game? But on that note, what do they have to do? Like, how do they see out this the first 6-7 overs maybe of fiery pace in Ismail, and then maybe Imlaba coming in? What do they have to really do?
I think it's important for them to play straight, especially in those sort of first, I would say, 3 overs as the openers. And it's such a cliched saying, but it really just helps you find your rhythm as a batter, and you just reduce your risks so much if you can try and just keep it playing straight in the V. They'd be quite happy if they could see off Ismail without Ismail getting her tail up and sort of getting a quick 2 wickets. I think they're going to try. Let me put it like this. If I were them, you would try to just consolidate a little bit up front, see off Ismail. And I think South Africa are going to go with a spin opening option on the bowling. Look, they might go with Cup, and it's very tempting to go with Cup because Ismail and Cup together as an opening partnership when it comes to the bowling is just spectacular, and they've always done really well. So if it's Mlaba, they're going to want to knock it down, knock it around a little bit. They might try and take her on, and that would be, in my opinion, the second little thing that they could say to South Africa: we are coming at you. I don't think they should pick on Ismail. I think that would be a little bit too dangerous. But Mlaba might be the one for them to say, come on, guys, we're actually going to take a little bit of a dip at her. And if they can get if her first 2 overs can sort of go for 16 runs, that's already going to start getting the South Africans a little bit shaky. If it's Cup, I would then change sort of my strategy slightly, and I'd say, let's try and see off Ismail and Cup. And then let's go for the first change bowler, because now you've got Kaka would come in, and then I would also assume that Mlaba would come in. That's how I would kind of play it, just sort of trying to play those mind games. You've got to strategize it for yourself and have a plan. However, at any one stage, it could always change when you're out there in the middle, just on a gut feel. But I'd like Pakistan, if the spinner comes on, I would say to them, have a little go. Let's see if we can sort of put the pressure back on South Africa from that aspect.
Yeah, and Ananya, we have a relatively new head coach in the Pakistan setup. We had a stand-in captain who's now injured, and we have another captain. So let's just take a step back and say, is it possible that maybe there isn't like perfect communication within the setup of Pakistan behind the scenes, and can that translate into a little bit of faltering on the field, or maybe just not too much confidence on the field as well?
Well, it definitely can. I mean, it will take someone like David Hemp time to settle into that. I mean, it's a completely different culture. He's going to a country where, the language is different. Of course, the girls speak English, but I mean, just the general culture, everything is so different. So for him to have spent barely a couple of weeks with them in a training camp before coming on tour and, being tested in foreign conditions, I think they obviously probably haven't found their groove yet. I think he's still getting to know them, and he doesn't have the full-time captain there to kind of, I suppose, make things easier for him. So I think that all that does translate onto the field. I mean, we can say these are professional athletes and it shouldn't, but I guess at some point when you're unsure, or he's unsure of what role he wants each player to play, I guess it kind of just compounds into you see it on the field as miscommunication, that they themselves are unsure of what their roles are. And Yeah, I guess it doesn't help. I mean, but hopefully, we're looking at the bigger picture here, and going into a World Cup, they have time. Going into the qualifiers, they have 5 months. So, the hope is that going into those tournaments, these kind of tours help him, I suppose, get used to the system a little quicker, because like we say, you learn your cricket in big matches. So I'm sure this communication will only get better on tours like this.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what we can then see this as almost a warm-up series for David Hemp and the entire setup to understand each other better and take out positives that they can then sort of pile into the qualifiers and the World Cup coming up. Claire, just some news on the weather in South Africa. We know that there's a tropical cyclone, and but I mean, the weather apps and everything predict no rain and a full match today. So just any update on that?
Sorry, my mistake. I was on mute. As you said, at the moment, there's no rain predicted for Durban. There has been quite a lot of moisture around, overcast conditions, and there is some rain predicted over the next few days. Not as much as what they were expecting, so that's a good sign. But definitely, we should get a full game of T20 cricket in this afternoon or this evening, wherever you may be. So that's very, very exciting. The pitch is going to be interesting. I've been a little bit disappointed in the pitch over the first sort of 3 ODIs. We saw it sort of a little bit slower, not quite coming onto the bat. I would expect similar kind of pitch conditions, unless they miraculously got quite a lot of water onto the pitch just to quicken it up slightly. But we would expect sort of a very, very similar type of pitch to be coming out. Maybe a little bit of sea movement up front. Typically in Durban, especially if there's a little bit of overcast weather around in the evening, it sort of might just seam around a bit, but we'll just have to see what happens.
And we're getting news of the Pakistan lineup coming in, and Nahida Khan and Aisha Zafar are set to open. Ananya, your thoughts on that? There was talk about it in the preview coming up to this T20 as well, but your thoughts on that opening pair?
Well, I guess Nahida Khan has probably survived the axe because Javeria Khan's injured, and they wanted someone experienced in that lineup. So, I mean, I'm kind of surprised that they've stuck with her, but I'm very excited to see Aisha Zafar. I really like the way she bats. She's someone who's happy to go over the top early. She plays very straight, and she really likes that length. That good length that we call it, that fast bowlers bowl. I've seen her cart Jhulan Goswami and Shikha Pandey over mid wicket when they're bowling like good length deliveries. So I mean, I think it's a positive move. I like the fact that Aisha Zafar is playing, and I mean, I can see Aisha Naseem as well, the 16-year-old who kind of burst into the team ahead of the T20 World Cup in 2020. So she's someone who everyone describes her like Shafali Verma, someone a big, strong girl who likes to hit those long balls. So, I'm excited to see her. She did make her T20 debut against Thailand, but didn't get a bat. So, this is like her second debut, and hopefully she comes up the order. She's also someone who is very aggressive. So I like the fact that Pakistan are going into this, like Claire said, with a bit of a positive mindset. They want those youngsters to go out there and potentially take on South Africa, which is something they need to do if they want to, get ahead in this series. So I'm excited to see these players. I'm a little surprised about Nahida Khan, but I mean, I understand why they've gone with her.
Yeah, and that's another opportunity for her, and it'd just be great if she cements her place up top like that. And I'm just looking at the lineup, and it's quite positive. There's a lot of intent there. Muniba Ali, Umaima Sohail, Alia Riaz, Kainat Imtiaz, Nida Dar. We see, like, I can see batting there. Like, for the first time, I can see it, and I'm sort of looking forward to it as well. Just, I don't know your thoughts on. I see more depth there, and with a shorter format, I think they'll have more freedom going into this innings, right?
Yeah, I'm sure there is, but what I'm really surprised about is the absence, it seems, of Fatima Sana. I mean, she bowled exceptionally well through that ODI series. She's handy with the bat as well. So, not to see her, I mean, unless she's injured or unless they're resting her, I'm not sure of that. I mean, she is a 19-year-old, so I don't think they'd rest her. But if she's injured, I'm not sure. So I'm surprised by that. But again, someone like Eman Anwar, good, she's getting the opportunity, another team pacer candidate. But I have another question of who's going to keep. We don't see Sidra Nawaz's name. So, I'm not sure if Aisha Naseem also wicket keeps. So, it's interesting that there is a lot of depth. There is a lot of positivity, like you said, that they're going with fresh legs. They're going with people who, like to hit over the top. So, I'm a little confused by the lineup, but I'm excited to see what they do. I mean, this is Pakistan, and you can never. I suppose they're unpredictable. That tag follows them everywhere. So this is like one of those things, I guess.
And Claire, we have the South African lineup as well coming in. Lizelle Lee, Tasman Brits is there. Sunil Lees is obviously the captain. Cap and Dupree are back. Trisha Chetty has missed out, and we've got a different wicketkeeper in Sinalo Jafta here. And we look at the bowling lineup. I think what we were mentioning earlier is pretty much spot on. We have Masawada Class as well, which we were mentioning off air was maybe maybe not. What are your thoughts on, especially the bowling lineup going into this innings?
Yeah, it is quite interesting. One or two little changes there that were sort of, I would have said plan B, not necessarily plan A. But that's exciting. It's saying that Hilton Nareng's working towards a plan, and he's wanting to experiment, play around with some players. And as I said, that Pakistan winning the toss and choosing to bat is showing confidence. I think in the first T20, a team that we're seeing South Africa put out also uses confidence, because I would have expected us to go with probably the second ODI team roughly, and it would have been a safe bet. They would have performed brilliantly. But here he's going, no, I actually want to make one or two changes. All the players he feels he backs them, they're in good form. And so I think it's really, really exciting. I don't have a problem with them arresting Chetty. Trisha has been a workhorse for South Africa. She's a fantastic keeper, and no one will ever take that away from her. But I think also, just to try and get a bit more out of her, just to rest her at times, is a really good thing to do. I'm really excited. You can't see my arms, but I've got goosebumps. I know Sinalo Jafta quite well, and so I'm really excited for her to get a game today. She's a fantastic young wicketkeeper. She comes with so much energy, and she's got such an incredibly professional work ethic. And every single day she's putting in the hard yards and never has a bad word to say. And really, I'm really chuffed with her for her. So it's great to see her there. I think it's going to be really interesting, because you've got Klaas and Kaka, you've got Ishmael, and obviously, and Cup. So you really do have 4 brute up front sort of seamers that are going to be coming in and bowling at the Pakistanis. So it's going to be quite interesting to see now what the pitch is doing. So yeah, I think it's quite an interesting lineup. Tamsin Brits, I think it's going to be cool to see what she can do today. There are glimpses of her quality, and she's a really, really exciting bat lady, and I hope she gets off to a good start today.
So what are your thoughts on who are going to open the bowling and who's going to be the first change? Because we have a lot of bowlers in this lineup as well.
Yeah, so I mean, there are 2 options. I think the obvious option is Ishmael and Cup. So I mean, that's sort of to say up front. But Nonkululeko Mhlaba, she opened the bowling when Cup wasn't around in the T20 World Cup, when Cup was injured or sick. And she did really well for them up front. And so I'm always keen to see a spinner open in T20 cricket. It's a different mindset that the opening batsmen have to sort of shift towards. So I think that would be quite exciting. And maybe that's what they go with. But again, it's going to be very dependent on how the pitch looks at this moment in time. And I'm thinking maybe the track that they're going to use just looks a little bit quicker. It might even look like there might be a little bit of a tinge on green to it. I haven't seen it, so please, don't take my word for it. I'm predicting things here based on the team that they've chosen as well. So we've got sort of 4 out and out seam attack.
Yeah, and we'll find out how the pitch works very quickly in a few minutes. The first ball is going to be bowled. I'm just going to put you both on the spot here. I'm sure you have prepared something, but We're going to go with score predictions. Pakistan batting first. It's something new. It's something exciting. Ananya, why don't you take it away? What do you think is a good total, and what do you think is a sort of a settable total rather for Pakistan?
Well, I mean, if the pitch is anything like it was during the ODIs, I think Pakistan should aim for something around 140, more than 140. But I mean, I'm just a little worried that without the solidity of Javeria Khan, that they might struggle a little bit, especially with that young lineup. I mean, very positive. I hope they do well, but I think they'll struggle to get around 125.
Okay, 125 it is, Ananya. And just before we move to Claire, a quick follow up on if Javeria comes back, who misses out? Let's say she comes up with the second T20I. Just a hypothetical here, but who do you think will be replaced, especially if Nahida performs well in this match?
Are you asking me?
Yeah. All yours.
Well, I don't know. I think it would be Nahida Khan. I think, you know, I really feel like if you're looking at providing players an opportunity, I think Nahida Khan is kind of at the fag end of her career. No disrespect to her, but I think they need to give more opportunities to the youngsters like Muniba Ali, like Aisha Naseem. They've obviously identified some potential in them, so I think they need to give them a longer rope. So regardless of whether Nahida Khan, you know, unless she scores like a 30 ball 70 or something, I don't see her playing the next ODI. T20.
All right, so you predicted 125 coming off Pakistan's bat. Claire, your thoughts on the predictions?
I totally agree with that prediction. I was probably going to go a little bit lower at 120. However, I'm going to say that Pakistan are going to come out flying. They're going to try and ruffle the feathers of South Africa, and let's hope to see them get up to like 135, 140, just to start this T20 series on a really positive note.
All right, so we're going to take the 135, 140 from your end. We're like Pakistan, we're going to go out positively, hoping to see some, and I feel a spark. I feel something different about this lineup. So it'll be exciting to see the first innings, second innings. Obviously, the match is going to be very interesting to watch. That's it from the first segment of this Outside View Live on the first T20. We'll catch you in the mid-innings segment. Hopefully, we have a score of 135, 140 for a very competitive game coming up. We'll see you then.